Hey, come here. You like pro wrestling? We got a little something for you. Two fans, 3,000 miles away. We each been watching for more than 30 years. Celebrate the art form, the action, the homoeroticism. We ain't rating matches. We ain't analyzing stories. We ain't experts. We just sit down, shut up, and mark out! Welcome, everybody, to another good goddamn edition of Sit Down, Shut Up, and Mark Out. I'm Blade motherfucking Daly, and I'm here with my motherfucking Canadian podcasting co-host, the best there is, the best was, the best there ever will be, Joshi G. Joshi G. Motherfucker, how you doing?
Hello. I'm good. October was a fun month. Spooky season. Lots of scary movies, lots of scary shows. I'm all about the horror. So yeah, I'm doing well. Had a really good month. I mean, the only thing that sucked was the ear infection. But besides that, yep, I'm doing well. I've been watching The Fall of the House of Usher. I've been enjoying it a great deal.
That's a great show.
Yeah, so good. So I only have one episode left, and also I started watching the show Swarm. Donald Glover created it with someone else, but I can't remember the other one's name. And so, yeah, that's been fun. Doing well, enjoying wrestling and horror stuff, and
I think you're forgetting something that you also did last weekend. And more importantly, what your dog did.
Yes, of course. So last Saturday in Montreal, we had Halloween, which is basically an event for dogs where they dress up in costumes. Mm-hmm. And so I took my pooch Sandong to this event. He was Superman, and he had so much fun. He got to play with other dogs. He got a lot of pictures taken. It was a really good time. I love the energy of dogs. They're just so much fun and playful. And he got a Halloween cookie, dog cookie, and he enjoyed that. I was also interviewed, which was fun, by students that have their little newsletter at the university I went to, actually. Aww. So that was really cool. So yeah, it was a really fun time. And I don't know, man, they should have these dog events more often, like Dog Christmas, Dog Valentine's Day,
Dog Thanksgiving.
Dog Thanksgiving.
Well, you guys have already had your Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, ours is in October, yeah.
Yeah. Just because you guys have to be contrarians, just be different.
I didn't make the decision.
No, I'm holding you personally responsible for it. Now, my week can be summed up with a few simple sentences, okay? Number one, you introduced me to the show Atlanta. It's really good. I watched 2 episodes of it, and I'm all the way in. Really, really loving it. I bought the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, the original trilogy. That's Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas for my Switch. Horrible decision because I'm obsessed with San Andreas right now. Like, I'm just running around shooting people. It's great. And then, lastly, my wrestle pup, and folks, we want to know about your wrestle pups too. Tell us about the wrestle pups you got. We'll read about them on the next show. Leave that in the comment because, hey, I watch Dynamite with Luna, my wrestle pup, every single fucking week.
Heck yes.
Surprisingly, she's a big fan of everyone. If you want to know what Luna looks like, just imagine Toto from The Wizard of Oz. She looks a lot like him. So, Luna got to celebrate Halloween by going to the vet, finding out she has bladder stones, and me paying $500. So, lots of fun there. But yeah, watching Atlanta. Watched last night. I watched House on Haunted Hill.
House on Haunted Hill. So that, do you mean The Haunting of Hill House, or
no, House on Haunted Hill? It came before Haunting of Hill House.
No. I know. I was just making sure.
The Vincent Price masterpiece.
Yes, I know. I was just double checking.
But yes, Donald Glover is extraordinary in Atlanta, and The surrealness of it all was incredible.
I knew you would like it. If this wasn't apparent to our listeners before, we're huge fans of Federico Fellini and David Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
So we like the surreal stuff, and Donald Glover does an excellent job with Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, it's really his baby. When you watch the credits, it's just his name over and over and over again. He even wrote it. I mean, like,
Yes,
just
he
really,
did.
really great stuff. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. All right, so that's what we've been up to, everybody. Hope you all had a good Hallows Eve. Hope that you didn't run into any fucking monsters in the dark. And no, we're not talking about Vince McMahon, because that wouldn't be funny. But we are about to talk about, well, somebody else in WWE. Cody Rhodes. We really don't like to do a lot of this, but it felt like it merited some kind of response.
Yeah.
This week, and I'm going to read his full comments, Cody's doing promo for the Blood Money show in Saudi Arabia, where he's going to be facing Gunther. And his quote was, he was asked something about body shaming wrestlers. And he says, "This is a vanity business. If you're trying to be on the come up, you've got to get in the best shape of your career. The guy I'm getting ready to wrestle at Crown Jewel is named Gunther. He used to be on the independent scene named Walter, and Walter was very, very, I don't want to say overweight, but he was not a muscle you could see on him. A big, hefty, chop a tree down killer dude. The manifestation of his goals are right there in his physique. You can see he's gotten in the best shape of his career. He looks incredible. He looks the part. And there's this weird online contingent that doesn't realize how important that is. We're wrestling with our shirts off, folks. You're standing next to some of the best athletes in the world. It's okay to go to the gym. We have had what we call effort shamers, and then you'll hear fans say, you can't body shame wrestlers. What are you talking about? We're standing there half naked and you paid hundreds of dollars to see us. You can body shame me all you want. But kicking back, that was the thing. I wasn't in great shape. He's talking about as Stardust.
Yeah.
I had filled the spot as being Dustin's tag partner. We had done really very well. At that point, I should have been focused on getting in the best shape of my career, having the best promo, and more importantly, I should have fought the little battles. Hey, I don't want to team with my brother today. Hey, I don't want to come out to his music. Wrestlers, you can tell when they're in the best shape of their career. They want it. They want it. Currently, I know it might seem toxic and stuff, but amongst the boys and girls, everyone is saying, who does your diet? Who's training? Like, there's a whole nother health conscious now to WWE that I love that. We're trying to look our best. Oh boy. You know, I read the entire quote to provide fairness in some context. He's obviously talking about why things didn't work out in his first run, what he did to address his condition because he thought that was a problem. He obviously got in much better shape than he was as Stardust. It wasn't a flattering costume. However, when he says, body shame me all you want, what a stupid, narrow perspective to have. For one, women wrestlers are constantly picked at, sexualized, body shamed. I've seen people call some of the best athletes in the world fat. I have seen people say horrible things to women wrestlers on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter, on any platform, basically. So Cody is not just representing himself when he says stuff like that. He's representing WWE, but he's representing anyone he works with or has worked with. He's really representing the industry when he says shit like that. It is not cool to body shame people, but more importantly, what stunned me about it is Cody is the son of Dusty Rhodes, who was a very big dude and who made that a winning formula as part of his character. You know, they even put this motherfucker in polka dots, which was supposed to be unflattering and accentuate every negative connotation about his physique, and he still got over. Like, what the fuck is he talking about? I don't want all the people on my TV to look exactly the same. Joshi, your thoughts?
Well, I think the comments that he made were very toxic. I think the issue with Cody is that he really wants to sound smart. And so he uses big words without knowing what they mean. And he rambles and doesn't even make sense half the time. My advice to him is don't talk so much. Because you're not good at this stuff. I'm sorry. It's one thing cutting a promo in WWE, but when you're being interviewed and you're making these kind of statements, man, he just comes off as an entitled rich white kid that hasn't been exposed to enough of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like his reality is so different from what most people's reality actually is. And I don't get it. I don't understand why he would say something like that. Already you have guys like Eddie Kingston that have been body shamed. By making that kind of comment, you're saying it's totally fine to body shame.
Right.
And wrestlers should all be fit. That is such a stupid thing to say. In 2024, we should be accepting different body types, and we should applaud women and men that have these different bodies for being on TV and for being comfortable with themselves. And some names that come to mind are Deanna and Willow. They're bigger girls, but that's great. They look good. They don't have to be fit like Chris Statlander or Camille. It's actually...
Well, and let's be clear, they are in great shape. They can wrestle long wrestling matches.
Absolutely. But I mean, if you look at his comments, they wouldn't fit his description of what a wrestler should look like.
Right.
And I think that's really unfortunate. It's a terrible view to have in this day and age. And you look at somebody like Mick Foley.
Mm-hmm.
He was criticized a lot, for his body. And my God, he was so terrific at wrestling. He cut the best promos. There's more to just having a good body. There are wrestlers that have a good body and can't wrestle well. Jade Cargill. I mean, yeah, she has a great body. I don't care about her wrestling. She's not the greatest wrestler. There's way more to being a wrestler than just the way you look. I feel that's a very outdated concept, and I find it very odd that Cody is still sharing these kind of sentiments. Mm-hmm. I'm just at the point where when he talks, I don't listen to him because, as I said, I don't think he's the most intelligent wrestler when it comes to common sense, everyday things.
He does come off as just somebody who's lived away from most normal people, but also... Are you going to tell me Kevin Owens isn't fit when he can do some of the craziest parkour looking spots I've ever seen in my life? Like Samoa that guy's not in shape, Samoa Joe. What about you go the other way, Darby Allin?
Yeah.
He's thin, but are you going to tell me he's not a great wrestler because he's not all jacked? Fuck off. I mean, that's kind of the thing. I think we just need to get past the point of considering Cody this great mind that has all of this wisdom to contribute about life. He does know a lot about the wrestling industry, and I can also accept that within this very small circle of wrestlers, they probably feel very differently about talking about these things. But you know what? I thought Vader was pretty fucking good, and I thought Bam Bam Bigelow was pretty fucking good. Those guys are legends.
Yokozuna was awesome. I was a huge fan. So because he was heavier... that means he wasn't a credible wrestler. This is what I mean. He's saying things that don't make any sense and that are just hurtful at the end of the day.
Right. And I would just say at the end, is Cody is not on the level of like Mick Foley yet. And he is, he probably will be when it's all said and done, and good for him. But Cody, just talk about being the champion of WWE's wrestling media. I don't understand why you care what this guy thinks about AEW or what he thinks about anything. Like, I think he's kind of like gotten out over his skis enough times to where it's like, we're good with Cody. So anyway, Folks, that's our rants about Cody Rhodes, but it needed to be said, goddammit. Don't body shame wrestlers. Don't body shame anybody. Fuck off with that shit.
It's not okay.
All right, we're moving along here. We're moving along. And Joshi G, in something I would much rather discuss. Last episode, we did one of my favorite things we've ever done, talking about the Tekkers, talking about the people who brought us into the lovely sweet science of professional wrestling. And overwhelmingly, the guy who was mentioned more than anyone was Bret the Hitman motherfucking Hart.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And I realize, the question was, who was your buy-in? Who presented it to you in a way that made you want to see it more? But as we talked, we did meander. We did talk about more current people. And there were a few we didn't mention that there was one that hit me really hard. I'll mention last. And so I posted that on Threads. I said, fuck, we missed somebody, thinking it would be obvious. And nobody said them, but they said other people that we missed. And so let's talk about a few of them. One of them is Daniel Garcia.
For sure.
Red Death. Now, I would say he's broadened his style to where he can do more brawling kind of stuff. He's become a little more character focused over the last year or two since he started working with Jericho. But he's tried to become more than just the technical marvel that he was when he showed up originally. And he has, but the guy knows what he's doing technically. He can bring that out at any time. I would love to see a few more of those kind of matches like he had with Danielson at some point in the future.
He reminds me of a young Bryan Danielson.
Yes. I think we're on the same page there. Both talking Bryan Danielson. Yeah, he does. He has big-time Bryan Danielson vibes, and he has that charisma that I think is going to carry him very, very far.
Yeah.
Another that people brought up was fucking Tyga Style.
Oh, Lee Moriarty.
Lee Moriarty, baby.
Of course. Yeah.
How the fuck did I forget to say something about Lee Moriarty? I don't know, but Lee is fucking great. This is a guy who, when he first showed up, Lee's got all the talent in ring. Okay. It's not even up for debate. We know he does. But when he first showed up, he didn't know how to talk at all. He didn't know. There was a lot of things he was still trying to figure out. And I have watched. He has been a part of a few different groups. And I really like him with Shane Taylor, but I want to see him on my TV more, and I want you to start giving him some promo time. He is the ROH Pure Champion, which I'm all about because that guy embodies that belt as well as anybody could. And I kind of see him, he kind of showed up similarly, to Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia, kind of in that same class. And so I would like to see a little more put behind Lee Moriarty, but man, that guy is a great technical wrestler.
I feel like those three guys, Daniel Garcia, Lee Moriarty, and Wheeler Yuta, down the line, not now, it would be really cool if they started their own faction.
It would be. That would be cool. I would love that.
Down the line.
Yes.
Not this year, maybe not even next year, maybe in a couple of years, because I feel their styles are very similar and their character work has improved significantly over the years, particularly Daniel Garcia. But those two are also getting better in terms of promo work and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I really like Lee's promos. He's gotten a lot better. Yuta is doing incredible work right now.
Yeah.
The best character work he's ever been given a chance to do, and he's crushing it. And Garcia, man, he is going to look like and feel like when you see him on the screen, I don't think it's going to be a super long time from now. You're just going to think that guy's in the main event. Another person that was brought up was Josh Alexander, the walking weapon.
Oh, right. He is really good. It's just that I don't watch TNA. So
I don't watch
Yeah.
TNA very often, but Josh is somebody you hear. I mean, whether you watch it or not, you hear about Josh. And,
that's true.
I've seen enough of his matches. I know what he's about. And that match, by the way, that he had with Takeshita, a lot of people. So he wrestled Konosuke Takeshita on the second night of Maple Leaf Pro. The night before, Takeshita wrestled Speedball Mike Bailey. I loved both matches, but I'm going to say something. People were raving about the speedball match. I actually preferred the Josh Alexander match. It was
Really?
it was a slugfest. It was two dudes close in size. Takesh is a little bigger than Alexander, but not much. Whereas he's much bigger than Speedball, and Speedball's wrestling from underneath the whole time. These guys were just trading shots the whole match. It's like a 30-minute match. I will say with the Speedball thing, there are a lot of things that Speedball does that I love, and he's a great wrestler. Don't get me wrong. It is not, I'm not bagging on the guy. Sometimes his offense can be a little hard for me to buy. I don't know that I'm quite as big a fan of him as pretty much it seems like everybody else in the world. You guys can leave your hate for me in the comments. Feel free to do that.
Hey, careful. He's my hometown boy.
He's your hometown
watch it.
boy.
Well, he wasn't actually born in Montreal, but I've seen him wrestle so many times at the IWS shows, and I've met him. I've spoken to him, and on Instagram, I've commented on his stuff, and he's liked it and responded. I love Bailey, so you better watch yourself, my friend. No, but really, I understand. Listen, we all have our own opinions.
Yeah.
I think he's incredible. I loved what he was doing in New Japan. I actually do see him as someone that can become really big in New Japan. He was really over this past year during it was which tournament was it? Oh my goodness.
The Super Junior?
Yes, the Super Junior tournament. He was so over. The crowd was chanting for him. So I could definitely see that one day. But yes, as my homeboy, I have to defend Mike Bailey at all costs.
No defense required by anyone. I am a Mike Bailey fan. I just want to be very clear about this. I think he has more room to grow than apparently some other people do. Whatever. I mean, it's a
Just
small
because
difference
he's not
of opinion.
From Seattle. God.
Oh yeah. For most of my life, do you know the only wrestler that was on the national stage that was from Seattle and billed as being from Seattle? To take one guess.
Bryan Danielson.
No, I'm talking before him.
I know I'm messing with you. Before
when I was
Danielson?
a child, a chillin'. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Honestly,
it was Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Oh,
was
right.
billed as being from Seattle. No one else of that era was. Seattle had no wrestling. We have just some of the greatest wrestlers of this era are from this region, and it's the first time that's ever happened. It's crazy. So anyway, Josh Alexander, super high up on that list. And now, I'm going to insert a drum roll here. The guy that I thought of afterwards that we didn't mention, that I felt like a dum-dum for not mentioning, and I see why other people didn't mention him. He's very unconventional. Jay White.
Well,
Jay White.
That's why. Because he's unconventional.
He's unconventional.
Go on, sir.
He can do the hammer locks, headlocks, all the, ankle trips, all that stuff. Okay. Jay can do it all. But this guy, outside of Penny, Takeshita, Ospreay, Ibushi in his prime, that super athlete, that's my favorite thing in wrestling. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And just below that is Jay White. Okay. He has my favorite in-ring style, I think, aside from those guys ever. Okay. Yeah. He's he antagonizes his opponent to bait them into making mistakes. Yeah. He will take a shitload of punishment just to get the upper hand. He has a fucking iron chin and he knows it. So he will let himself get the living piss beaten out of him in order to get the upper hand in the end. He's sneaky, but goddamn, when you watch that match with Hangman at Wrestle Dream,
oh man, yeah,
that entire match is just Jay White baiting Hangman. He's just pissing him off, and Hangman's so full of rage he keeps making mistakes, and Jay keeps exploiting him. Hangman's still selling his knee from that match, 3 weeks ago now.
Well, the thing with Jay White is that he wrestles a very methodical style, and he uses the best kind of in-ring psychology. So I guess I didn't think of him because he taunts, right? Like you said, But then again, Kurt Angle, he was a master of in-ring psychology, and he was considered a technical wrestler. So at this point, I would just say we dropped the ball and forgot Jay White. Um, and I also would like to make a correction about Mike Bailey. He's from Laval, which isn't far from Montreal. It's still so basically Montreal is an island, and then we have the municipalities, which are considered like their own boroughs, but technically I take that back. So he is like a Montrealer. Sorry.
All Speedball needs to do at this point really is if he were to wrestle like on American television, for instance, right?
Yeah.
There's two things Mike Bailey would need to do. He'd need to do less in his matches, like just to work TV, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then he would just need to figure out how to cut a promo that doesn't sound so goddamn Canadian, okay? Like,
what? What does
he
that
is
mean?
like the most Canadian promos. He just sounds polite. Like,
oh wow, that's so terrible. Jeez.
Yeah, but he's a pro
God.
wrestler. He's gotta sound like he's serious about beating some ass.
He needs to sound more like heel Brett.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I was just thinking of Brett. Like, he doesn't have to sound like Sid, where he's like, I'm the master and ruler of the world. All right, that'd be cool, but he doesn't have to do that, okay? Like, nobody believes Speedball anyway because he's so small. But, like...
Oh, my God. Dude. What is it with you today?
Nobody believed me. I mean, most of... Like, Sid's the only guy who could get away with that. It's not a diss on Speedball. No, I would actually like to see Mike in AEW. I think he could do some really cool shit. He's one of the few guys that I think would be worth adding to the roster at this point because he's not a guy that necessarily needs to win all the time.
Yeah.
Him and Mustafa Ali and Vikingo.
Oh, did you hear about Vikingo? He got injured again.
Again. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And
poor dude. Yeah.
Big love out to Vikingo and big love out to Chris Bay.
Yeah, poor Chris Bay. Oh.
Scary situation. Scary situation. I truly hope he's okay. Anytime you have to have emergency neck surgery, that is very scary.
It is.
So, those are the Tekkers, baby. You guys were great. Gave us some great feedback, and you gave us a bunch more feedback that we have to read at the end of the show. But right now, Joshi G, we got some business to conduct, as Christian would say. Shut up while we conduct our business.
My boy.
All right. So, Joshi, I think we feel a lot better about talking about this Dynamite than maybe we did last week, okay?
Yes.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
The world hasn't ended. This is very good news.
This was a show, okay?
Yeah, it was.
So, like, when you looked at it on paper, you're like, wow, 4 really cool matches, okay? Mm-hmm. It was so much more than 4 really cool matches.
Yeah.
Okay? We had the incredible Halloween theme, which I thought they did better this year than they've ever done.
Yes, that was amazing. You know what? That really stood out to me this year.
Yes.
I loved it. Everything about it was perfect. It felt so much more, I don't know, like...
It felt like Halloween Havoc, like WCW Halloween Havoc.
Yes, exactly.
Like back in the day.
That's a good comparison.
The intro to the show that they did felt exactly like a Halloween Havoc to me.
It did.
You know, I know NXT still does Halloween Havoc, but this was like a tribute to WCW Halloween Havoc. And it was awesome. They didn't have the normal ramp that they normally have, so it also felt a little different. But man, I was all about the Halloween shit. It was super cool. Fright Night, Dynamite, they got to do it every year. Like, I don't care if it's 4 days before Halloween or whatever, you just got to do Fright Night, Dynamite from now on. That should definitely happen. And ultimately, this just turned out to be a really fucking great show. Overall. Like, the stories felt like, okay, like you and I were talking about this offline.
Yes. Since
All Out through last week, and it felt like there was a lot of things that were kind of in the ether, but it was hard to see how they connected. And so it kind of felt like AEW had a plan through All Out and then was scrambling in a way. And Wrestle Dream managed to deliver massively, but the weekly TV was just a little confusing. And I think this week they showed you, no, this shit is connected, and they started showing you how. And I think that was a huge part of the show, which kicked off with, another super creepy Blackpool Combat Club promo.
Yeah.
And as that's playing and Claudio's, talking in his menacing serial killer talk and all that, you just hear this guy like, turn it off. Turn it off. It was Orange Cassidy. And he walks out and the crowd goes nuts. This is a great way to start the show. Like, it just tells you right there, like, we are not going to just keep, opening the show this way every week, no matter what these guys would have you, right? And so Orange comes out, and I felt this was a fantastic promo. Orange Cassidy is so good at every aspect of wrestling.
Yes.
He's one of the best in ring in the world. He can cut a great promo when he needs to. And not only that, he has to figure out in this moment how to blend like old Orange Cassidy with this passionate, angry, new Orange Cassidy. And I think he is doing that very well. The first time we saw a little hint of this was last year when he was fighting Jon Moxley for the international title. It was, he like gave this very impassioned promo, like, I need the gold, I have to have it, And so he comes out summarizing. The crowd was super into him. He said he's not a leader, but last week when he saw his friend Chuck get his head stomped in, broke his neck, whatever.
Yeah.
And he was just a little late. He knew something had to change. And he said all these, wrestlers ran from the back as they should, but they're all very, very young. They haven't fought these guys. They don't know what they're getting into. And he wants to keep people from getting hurt. So he alone is going to take all of them on. Right? And it's kind of this like sad, delusional babyface promo in a way. Right? Where he's like, I will sacrifice myself and I will figure this out. Don't worry about it. That's how he knows how to be a leader. Right? Which that can't work. Right? And then he challenges Jon Moxley for a world title match at Full Gear. This crowd went nuts when he issued that challenge. Joshi, what were your thoughts on this?
I thought it was a terrific promo. I think that there's a lot of layers to Orange Cassidy. He's not just a lazy wrestler with hands in his pockets. He's actually good at every aspect of wrestling. And actually, while you were talking, I was thinking about a possible scenario that could play out. Because, yes, he says that he wants to handle BCC on his own, which is obviously very unrealistic. So I wonder if after Full Gear, we won't see him for a while. He'll be taken out. And then either he comes back more sadistic and vicious than ever, or he actually joins the BCC. Because I have noticed that he's been dressing in darker colors.
Yes. Well, and I think he was in black last?
I believe he was in black, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Well, and our friend Peg Me Bundy had pretty interesting concept for this whole thing while we were having a little chat, and Brett suggested that Orange would fall at Full Gear and become radicalized. I like that they're kind of like stepping right up to the borderline of kind of almost like insinuating like MAGA or something like that, but without actually going into politics.
Right.
It's like wrestling radicalism. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So yeah, and I thought that was a fascinating idea. It's like Orange Cassidy becomes a hard ass who couldn't, he realizes Moxley's right. I mean, that's a possibility. It's a possibility. Yeah. They're giving up a lot of merch sales if they turn this guy heel. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out. Next was a very solid return match for Adam Cole with Buddy Matthews.
Yep.
Both guys did a great job in this match. I felt like Buddy was there to kind of, I think he's one of those guys you trust with a returning talent. Adam Cole did a fantastic job selling in this match. And I think what I've seen from Adam Cole in AEW is a guy who is telling better stories in his matches than I've seen him do ever.
Mm-hmm.
There was the match, the very first time him and MJF faced each other in that 30-minute draw last year. The storytelling in that match, it was all based around selling. And they were great at it. And I'm not saying Cole wasn't great before, he was. But he's just, this is a guy who spent over a year sitting on the sidelines waiting for his chance to come back. So they have a great match. Buddy looks like he's going to just stomp Cole into the dirt. Cole finally makes a comeback. It goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Cole sells the ankle like, oh no, And so he's got to keep working this ankle into his matches for a while, I think.
I like it, yeah.
I like it too. And he pulls it out in the end, beats Buddy Matthews, and then right after he thanks him, he says, I know what you were trying to do, and I want to thank you for it. It was great to be pushed. And Buddy very graciously shakes his hand. And as you'll remember from last week, Max said the first between Roderick Strong and Adam Cole to beat 3 people gets to face him at Full Gear.
Yeah.
And Buddy shakes Cole's hand, and then the lights go out. And when they come back on, Malachi Black is shaking Adam Cole's hand. Very cool spot.
That was so cool.
That was rad. The look on Malachi's face was perfect. I loved him having the makeup back on, which he hasn't had for a while. And that was just cool. Cool to kind of intertwine Adam Cole with the House of Black as well.
I just have a couple of comments. I'll start with Adam Cole. So when he's on AEW television, I feel very happy. I don't know what it is about this guy. He just brings in this joy. I can't explain it. So already, when they had that match on Dynamite, I had a huge smile on my face. Adam Cole is back. It's just something about him, his aura, good vibes. Now, as for House of Black, I really like House of Black. I really hope that Malachi Black is sticking around because they're doing such terrific work. And I think all 3 of them can be on a singles run and do extremely well. I would love to see Buddy in more singles matches. And if they want to push him down the line, do it. These 3 are extremely talented. They're so cool. That whole Malachi Black just showing up and shaking Adam Cole's hand was so freaking cool.
That was badass.
These guys are like the heavy metal of professional wrestling.
Right. Yeah.
It's just so neat. I love those guys, and I'm just really glad that they're being featured more. I know that Malachi has more of a limited schedule, which is totally fine. I just hope he's in a really happy place and that he stays because he's been doing some incredible work in 2024. Whenever I see Malachi, I'm like, yeah, he's so freaking cool. I can't help it. So
he rules.
I just love all these guys.
He rules. Yeah. Like when you see him in a match, the match that I want to see super bad with Malachi is him and Omega.
Oh
in a
my
singles.
God, yes.
In a singles
match. We've never gotten that match, right?
They had a confrontation with the Elite where they wrestled them in a trios match. And
yes.
I believe that's when they won the trios titles from the Elite.
Yes, you're right.
And Kenny and Malachi had a face-to-face and the crowd went fucking nuclear apeshit. Like, you just know that is a match people are dying to see, whether they know it right now or not. You put those 2 across from each other, people want to see that match.
Well, people like Malachi Black. There's something about him. He's very unorthodox.
He is. Well, and his kicks and he's so quick.
Yeah.
Remember last week I was talking about Kurt Angle and I said, you kind of saw the difference between an Olympic athlete and then like a wrestler who learned how to wrestle, like they're still very quick, but like Kurt Angle was on this different level. Malachi's kind of quick like that, where he's just
I agree.
very explosive and like he can just do shit super fast. Like him, Kenny. There's a few other people who are similar, but Malachi, he's just a rare athlete. I would love it if he stayed in AEW. I hope he does. But I hope if he does, he gets a real, like, tangible singles push. He's a guy that I could still see as the AEW World Heavyweight Champion at some point down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So after the match, and this is not all going to be in order, but after the match, Cole was in the back in the trainer's room with Roddy and the Kingdom, and he kind of goes into this whole diatribe about explaining the Devil storyline conclusion again.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't make any sense. I mean, he's in a really, really tough spot with this storyline, okay? Like being the babyface in that story. So I have two thoughts about this. If you're really just realigning them and that's the end, stop explaining. You don't need to explain it anymore. The more you talk about it, the more you draw people's attention to the fact that it makes no sense, okay? But if Adam Cole's delusional and he's kind of, you're hearing the inner rationale for why he did what he did, and somehow in his own mind he's still the good guy, and that's how he explains it to himself, or maybe that's the way the Kingdom and Roddy explained it to him, you might be able to work with that. But if Adam Cole is going to be a straight up good guy, which try to get people to boo this man, you know,
You can't.
and he can't keep moving him back and forth. I don't want to see him as a heel and MJF as a babyface. I would just say stop talking about the Devil stuff. It doesn't work, you know?
I completely agree with you, iBlade. I'm actually very surprised that some fans want Adam Cole to be a heel. Like, sure, he's good at it. He has the shit-eating grin and all of that, but he is very likable. And I'm considering that he's been gone for so long, and this is his second serious injury, where he was gone for over a year. I don't see how he could pull off being a heel. I do have a question for you, iBlade. Do you think that the Kingdom will turn on Adam Cole and align themselves with MJF?
Well, that would be a very interesting possibility. Okay. That's a very interesting possibility to me. Maybe Wardlow returns and sticks with Adam Cole and those guys all join MJF. That's a possibility. I think that by MJF doing this, like, one of you's got to win 3 matches in a row. I feel like that third match for both of them is going to be each other. I feel like it's going to be Roddy versus Adam Cole. There's something more to this because they also showed Kyle O'Reilly paying attention to Adam Cole's match.
Right, it's true.
So there's a lot of seeds being planted here. Okay. Again, if you think AEW doesn't tell stories, you're fucking wrong, folks. Like, it's just a stupid thing to say. Don't say it. You look like a dumbass.
Last thing. I'm sure you heard about this, iBlade Daily, but just for fans that perhaps missed this, Wardlow was backstage at AEW Dynamite this week. Apparently, he's been injured.
Yeah, he had a knee injury.
He had a knee injury. So this guy, he keeps things private, right? So we don't even know what's been going on the past few years. We like to jump to conclusions, but he might just be a very private person. So I could see him either realigning himself with Adam Cole or maybe joining MJF, but I don't think we'd want to see him with MJF again. I think him being with Adam Cole would make more sense, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it could go either way. But, I mean, you could come up with a storyline explanation. He's another guy that's just been hung out to dry, really, without a lot of room to move. I think the Kingdom and Roddy become forgettable as baby faces, and they should stay heels.
I agree.
The more we talk about it. So, it remains to be seen what will become of the Kingdom and Adam Cole, but I think that's an interesting nugget is maybe Roddy and the Kingdom align with MJF. I think that's the only logical thing that could happen, especially if you're going to keep Adam Cole as a babyface, which I don't think you can afford to keep moving him around. You don't want to big show his ass. So just have him be the good guy.
They can't do these heel babyface turns too often.
Yeah.
You know, like already with Chris Statlander, people are still talking about that.
Right,
Just
right.
let them,
Well, because it
you
was
know.
poorly done, and they deserve it. I mean, that was
Yeah, they
just
do.
badly done. Kyle Fletcher comes out. This man looks terrifying with the shaved head. He just looks terrifying. He looks like a major threat. The guy is jacked to the gills. He comes out with an in-progress circumcision, which is what Don Callis looks like. I said this on Threads, and the highlight of my week was that Lance Storm responded and said, "Dude, that popped me so huge. I'm making sure that Don sees this himself." The scar is the starting point of the circumcision. So I'm guessing you didn't see that on Threads.
Oh my god, I'm dying. I have to go find your post. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I said he looked like a walking in progress circumcision. And then I said, "Happy Halloween." But he dresses up every day, you know?
Okay.
We have a good time on Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out. We have a good time. So yeah. So I was very touched. I was very pleased with myself that Lance Storm popped that. So they walk out. They cut a good promo. You know, Kyle says, "Come on out, Will," knowing that he's not there. I love how Don starts every promo. He always goes either like, "I have something important to say," or "Kyle Fletcher has something important to say." He always starts off by saying that because he knows the crowd will go nuclear, right? The crowd's booing the shit out of Kyle Fletcher. This man is definitely a heel. So instead of Ospreay's music hitting, he goes, "Well, you know, I thought he was going to come out," and instead the Aussie hits. The United Empire logo flashes on the Tron, and out comes the more than 1 year long missing. Are you still laughing at the circumcision thing?
Yes, I need to calm down. I'm just picturing Dawn now. Okay, go ahead.
With those little glasses on,
Yes.
like if you put a little pair of sunglasses on a wiener.
And he has the scar. Okay, enough.
No, this is all staying in. This is all staying in the show. So anyway, Mark Davis comes out. He's been gone for more than a year. And I've been asking on Threads, I think I mentioned it on the podcast, where the fuck is Mark Davis? And really it wasn't because like I was mad at him. I was like, can you at least give us a timeline, like when he's going to be back? And I was starting to wonder, is he going to retire? Is he going to like, I know he broke his wrist, I think is what was the injury, but like, damn, like even for that, he had been gone a long time. He comes out. Fletcher tries to hug him. Oh, and he also says, you know, your family, and I've made sure that there's a place for you in the Don Callis family.
Mm-hmm.
And Davis basically says, dude, family? We were an empire, and you destroyed it. And showed his disgust before kind of brushing Fletcher back and starting to walk. And Fletcher says, very soon, you are going to have to choose. You are going to have to make a hard decision. And I've already shown you that I know how to cut the past loose. That was some gangster shit. That was some gangster shit. And then I noticed that Fletcher walked through the heel tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
He exited through the heel tunnel. I kind of feel like Fletcher's going to turn on Will Ospreay when Fletcher finally wrestles Will Ospreay. And Kyle Fletcher's going to get his like career made by beating Will Ospreay.
So I blamed a couple of things. First off, Kyle Fletcher is awesome.
He rules.
Okay? I mean, this guy's 25 years old. He's a kid. And
Wild.
he's already that good. He can cut a promo. He has a good look. Very exciting to watch. Mark Davis, I'm just relieved that he's okay. Like, I
Yeah,
was
me too.
concerned that, he wouldn't be able to wrestle ever again. And I will say this about AEW wrestlers. It's very apparent that some of them, when something happens, whether it's an injury or something personal, they just don't want anybody to know about it. And so they disappear from social media. And then we, the fans, the journalists, we make our own conclusions. And most of the time we're wrong. So I really respect the fact that Tony Khan respects their privacy.
Hmm.
I did not expect Mark Davis at all on Wednesday. Are you
No.
kidding me? There was no hint, nothing. As for what's to come, considering that they have Grand Slam in Australia in February, and both Fletcher and Mark Davis are Australians, I would imagine they'll be in a tag match or something like that. I think that would make a lot of sense. Maybe win the tag belts. I don't know, but I think you're right. I think that Mark Davis will probably join Kyle Fletcher. I thought he cut a great promo.
Davis can talk.
Very happy to see him back. Again, as I said, I'm just relieved that he's healthy. He can talk. Yeah, that was really surprising. They both can. They're both freaking great, man.
Yeah, no, he sounded great
Jeez.
on
These
on
young
the mic.
wrestlers, man, they're amazing.
Right. Well, and the only reason that I thought he might retire was because I had heard an interview with the two of them. Davis is like closer to Osprey's age than Fletcher. Like, so he's
He
significantly
is. Okay.
older than Fletcher, and he's had just this history of freak injuries. I've even heard that Aussie Open was supposed to win the tag titles at Wrestle Dream last year, and they called it in the ring for FTR to go over because they knew that Davis was hurt really bad. I don't know if that's true, but yeah, Aussie Open wrestled FTR. That was where Davis got injured, and that was at last year's Wrestle Dream. We're already a year past that. So, and speaking of guys with broken wrists who've been out more than a year, Bandito's been backstage and telling people that he's ready to roll. So,
let's go.
Dude, let's fucking go.
We want
my boy Bandito. We need Bandito back.
He's excellent. I want to see Bandito be Smartos as soon as possible.
Oh my God, yeah. Put that fucking hook me up. Hook me up. Have Bandito feud with LFI. Like,
hell yeah.
Have him be their target and have him run through him,
Yeah.
That would be fucking killer. Anyway, we got so much that could happen. We have to talk about what did happen.
Yes.
Hangman Page dressed up as Hangman Page for Halloween, and it was still very scary.
It was.
Cuts a promo on Jay White and says, there is no such thing as redemption. There only is what is, and wins and losses and the consequences of them. And that he is going to, really hurt Jay White, might hurt his friends, might even burn his house down. He did allude to burning his house down.
I blade real quick when it comes to Hangman Page, and I hate that I'm saying this because I feel in 2024 I shouldn't have to say this anymore. Somehow he is still so underrated. The guy,
because he's understated. That's why.
Yes, the guy is an amazing babyface. He's an amazing heel. His freaking storytelling is top notch. He is one of the best in the world. Period. Yeah. Oh my God, every time he talks now as a heel, I get shivers. He is so good at it. And it's also the way he talks, like, hey, you did this, like really intense, you know what I mean? And you just feel it. And you feel for him because he's not wrong about a lot of things. So I just wanted to give Hangman Adam Page a shout out. We love you, and you are one of the best in the world. I can't wait until the day when people realize that you're easily like top 3. Honestly,
dude, Hangman rules. Like,
yeah,
he's one of the. He is the foundation of AEW in so many ways. Like his character is, and I would say Mox is really the true MVP of AEW because he's just been there and worked on top for so long. But like, Hangman Page is part of the foundation of AEW. Period. His ascension was the real story of the beginning of AEW. And it just sucks that CM Punk and the entanglement there really kind of cut it off at the knees. All right. whatever the fuck they are, the Blackpool Combat Club, the fucking just scary dudes dressed in black and Pac dressed in his gear. They all come out. I loved their entrance, and it really, you and I were talking about this, it really wasn't different as far as walking, from the back through the crowd to the ring. It really wasn't different in that regard.
No.
They just took their time a little more. They carried themselves. It felt more carefully crafted. And they walked slower to the ring and let that song build to a crescendo, that Death Rider song. Fucking awesome.
Super well done.
Just a badass entrance. It just, these are the main dudes on this show right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they carried themselves that way. This was one hell of a promo itself. I actually saw somebody say it was kind of messy, and I just don't agree whatsoever.
Messy?
Yeah. John Moxley has the mic, says, Orange Cassidy thinks he challenged him, when in reality, Mox challenged Orange last week when he took out Chucky T. He eliminated a distraction for him, which to me sounds very similar to what he said to Isaiah Cassidy. I'm going to give you a hill to climb, right? When he bashed Isaiah's hand with the hammer, Private Party, we're about to get to, but he might have been right. Then Mox says Orange thinks he's the one pulling the strings, but he's going to test that now. And very shockingly, they grab Wheeler Yuta and force him to the ground, Pac and Claudio, and they put his head in the chair, just the way they did to Chucky T. And they're seeing if Orange will come save Wheeler Yuta. And Orange comes to save Wheeler Yuta. They let Wheeler go. But to those of you thinking this might have been just a bait or a plot, Marina was slapping Yuta after he's out. Go do it. Do, you got to, they're clearly saying, you got to prove yourself to us still.
Yeah.
And that was so cold-hearted. I loved that. Okay. That was whoa. Again, where it felt kind of too loose before, it's starting to come into focus, and I really like that. So Orange comes out, is quickly overwhelmed, okay, but is giving it his all. He is still giving it his all. More people come out from the back. Top Flight come out. Dark Order comes out. I love that Dark Order's been on the last 3 Dynamites in a row. Fucking awesome. Love that Top Flight are being shown to be stars on the rise. Daniel Garcia comes out. Private Party comes out. There's still a war going on when in the background, looking like he's just laying dead on a rope, is Darby Allin returns, gets put on the ground, starts brawling with Claudio, gets put through a table almost immediately, and gets right back up, continues brawling with Claudio. This is chaos. There's so much chaos. Orange Cassidy hits an orange punch on Moxley. There's brawling all over the place. It leaves Private Party alone in the ring. And whose music should hit, Joshi? Young Bucks music hits.
But they didn't do well because they had the match coming up with Private Party. And they didn't do anything.
The Bucks didn't show up when there was a fight going on. They showed up as soon as it was gone.
No, it was just for the match, right?
And the match, very subtly earlier in the night, Excalibur called this match the main event. So everybody's expecting it to go on last. Instead, it goes on an hour into the show. And what I loved about this match, and this is where the Young Bucks are just the masters, okay? They fuck with your expectations, okay? Why would you have a title match an hour into a 2-hour show? You always close the show. When Orange Cassidy beat Pac for the international title, close the show. And Kenny Omega beats John Moxley, closes the show, right? Shida beats Saraya, closed the show. So you never ever see somebody win the title an hour into the show. So instantly as a fan, you're like, oh shit, Private Party's going to break up.
This match made me extremely anxious.
I was talking with people on Threads who were like, dude, I don't see how it, because I posted, no, I'm still going with Private Party. I was one of the few that was like, I have my mind made up.
I just got worried. It's like, okay, the match isn't going glass. What's the reason for it? Then you start questioning everything.
Then Quen hits Cassidy with the bell.
Yeah.
And Cassidy's a bloody mess. Quen's getting his ass beat solo.
Yeah. And Okada comes out, beats up Quen, so you're thinking, well, he's not going to get back up. Right? They did a really good job at showing that it might go the way that you don't want it to.
Cassidy did such a good job selling his emotion throughout this match. There was a moment where Quen's like crawling on the apron to tag him, and he doesn't put his hand out. For a minute, you're like, oh, he's going to turn on Quen for hitting him with the bell.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then he reaches out and tags him, you know? So they played up every tag team wrestling trope that they possibly could in this match. They take you on this roller coaster of emotion to where even I was convinced that Private Party was going to win for almost the entire match. And then they hit Isaiah with all these moves. And he kicks out, and he kicks out, and he kicks out. And I'm like, how much more can he kick out of, right?
Right, yeah.
And somehow, some way, in what I consider to be one of the great crowning moments in AEW history, Private Party overcomes the Young Bucks. They overcome everything, and they win the World Tag Team titles. I think the reaction online that I saw, the reaction that I felt as a fan, was overwhelming joy that Private Party won, that they're not breaking up. I mean, when you look at it on paper, what sense does it make up to break up Private Party? None. You're telling me these guys are going to get over more as singles than as a tag team? No. There's not even room for that, right? But think of all the fresh matches they can have now. You know, they could fight FTR, and that's a fresh match, right? It's not a match we've seen a million times. They can fight the Acclaimed. They can fight all the tag teams that already exist. They can fight, and it's fresh. They can fight the Outrunners. They can fight all kinds of people. The Bucks, in a very uncharacteristic act, put the belts on Private Party's shoulder, kind of push him like, hey, we still don't like you, but like, good job. The Bucks have dedicated so much of their time in AEW to getting these guys over. They had to feel so proud listening to the reaction of that crowd. The Young Bucks are the masters at fucking with people and making you think the end is coming and is halfway through the match. They are the shit. And they did masterful job. The loss at Wrestle Dream that a lot of people said, well, the Bucks screwed over Private Party. They should have won. It all made sense. Remember, we were saying in the build-up to Wrestle Dream, like, it doesn't make sense for a Private Party to win right now. It doesn't even really make sense for them to be challenging for the tag titles.
Well, they were always losing. Right?
This result made all of that make sense. It made it worthwhile.
Yeah.
You know, it looked like they kind of lucked into a title shot at Wrestle Dream. And then it gave them the focus they needed to get over. My only question now is what happens with the Stokely stuff?
I don't know. That is a very good question. Is he just going around trying to cause chaos?
I don't know.
I don't know what his deal is, but I'm very happy that they won those tag belts. It's been 5 years in the making. Very historic and special moment, especially if you've been watching AEW since day one. Quen was out for a while due to injury, so that was really unfortunate. And to see them back together and as champions, I'm very, very proud. Very proud AEW.
Yeah,
fan.
me too. Me too. I'm so happy for them. They've been derailed with Quen's injuries. You know, you think about this time last year, as much as I know that Matt Hardy and Jeff were doing everything in their power to try and help Isaiah, him as Brother Zay, like none of that grabbed me at all, right? And
No.
it wasn't because the Hardys did anything wrong. It just wasn't working, But I was really, really stoked to see that they're still so over with the crowd. I was shocked at WrestleDream in attendance to see how into them the crowd was. So, fantastic match. One of the best AEW tag matches ever. One of the best title changes ever. It really reminded me a lot of the Lucha Bros beating the Young Bucks at All Out 2021 in the cage. It had that same feeling where there was a lot of in-ring storytelling that just succeeded on every level. Any more thoughts for you, Joshi, on this one?
I'm just really happy. I thought it was a terrific match. I know that for a while the Bucks weren't defending their tag belts that regularly, but I would say ever since August they've been really great at that, and they've been giving us really great matches. So I applaud both teams. They did a wonderful job.
I would say, since all in, they have really stepped it up and been on fire. As it turns out, Nick Jackson has a separated shoulder that he's been working through, which is insane because you can't even tell in his matches.
No, not
he
at
looked
all.
incredible.
Not at all.
He looked incredible. So nothing but love and respect to the Young Bucks, the greatest tag team of all time, in my opinion. Great match. And I'm so happy for Private Party. There was a little promo in the back with Renee and Penelope Ford and Jamie Hayter. Started off with Renee reminding them that they agreed to no physicality. Hayter looked very pissed about that. Penelope tried to pull the, look what you did to me 2 years ago, and Hayter just kind of cut her off. I'm liking Jamie Hayter as just a ruthless baby face. Coming into clearer focus, I said this, I think it was offline, I said this to you, Joshi. I wasn't sure that they needed to do a lot of character work with Jamie Hayter, because when she was champion before even, it was really like Britt did the talking, Hayter barely spoke. And Hayter's already establishing, she's like, I'm going to wipe the floor with you. You're talking about shit from 2 years ago. I don't give a shit. I'm going to destroy you, The intensity was off the charts. She was dressed like Daphne from Scooby-Doo. Daphne, my first love as a child was Daphne from Scooby-Doo. So you can imagine I enjoyed this quite a lot. I'm really excited for that match. It's next week on Dynamite. I think it's going to be great.
Well, the thing about it is that Jamie doesn't need Britt. She's perfectly fine on her own. She's one of the best female wrestlers in the world. She's charismatic. She can talk. So I wasn't concerned. When she came back, I said, she'll be totally fine.
You were of the mind she'll be totally fine. Yeah.
And as for Penelope, she's been doing a good job. She's only been back for a couple of weeks, had a very good match on Collision. She's pretty good when it comes to promos. And I know that Jamie will beat her, but I hope that after that match, they continue to use Penelope regularly. She has been there since day one. She was always present during the pandemic era. So she deserves her flowers. And for someone that's been gone for 2 years, her match on Collision was very good, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think Penelope on Collision this week looked fucking fantastic. I was really shocked at what great ring shape she appears to be in. Tony is really smart about bringing people back from long layoffs. He doesn't bring them back the minute that they're cleared. Vince always did that, where it was like the minute somebody's cleared, they're back on TV, and then you kind of watch for 3 months as they try to find their ring form again. There's been very, very few people who've had to do that because, Statlater's a great example. Somebody who's out for a year, comes back, and by the time she's actually on TV again, she's already in ring shape. Penelope, same thing. She looks fantastic. There was a Learning Tree promo. It was very brief. I saw some people really upset about it. I didn't care. I didn't think it took away from the show. I didn't think it necessarily added to the show very much. But Chris Jericho did say a lot about ROH, that he's going to be, bringing the brand to bigger heights. I hope that means on the streaming network. That would be great.
I hope so. Keeping my fingers
Less
crossed.
Dynamite, more of that. But then they announced that the conglomeration will be facing the Learning Tree in a no-holds-barred street fight next week. So I don't know. I didn't think the promo brought the show down at all. I saw some people saying it did for them. I just don't agree. That wasn't my experience. We have a match with Camille versus Chris Statlander that I was really looking forward to. And I felt they had a very, very solid match with each other. This is one of those rare occasions where you have two people who are like tall and jacked fighting each other. It doesn't happen very often. You know, it was like the old days where you'd see like Diesel versus Sid, you know, or whatever. It's just two big jacked people fighting. I thought they had a really solid match. It didn't overstay its welcome. I saw people say, you know, you could have gotten rid of the Jericho segment and given this more time. I don't think you would have wanted to see this go any longer, to be honest. Just because of the type of fighters and the type of match this is. They just slugged it out. And in the end, Statlander really got dominated most of the match. Reverses into a Wednesday night special. And, drops that tombstone on Camille, pins her. Mercedes immediately ambushes Camille with the belt. Statlander with the belt. Hits her from behind. Knocks Statlander the fuck out. Is clearly very pissed at Camille. Tells her to go to the back now. Says if you got to do anything right, you got to do it yourself. Lifts Statlander's head and shows her the belt. They're clearly building a Mercedes versus Chris Statlander. Very likely at Full Gear. Joshi, your thoughts?
Well, I don't think that Camille Statlander should have gotten more time. Chris Statlander is one of the best female wrestlers in the world, period. She can have a good match with anybody. Camille is fine. She's good. But she's not well-rounded enough yet to have a long match. So I actually thought the 10 minutes or whatever they got was perfect. Now, as for Mercedes Camille, I hope it's not the end of their relationship because I am enjoying it. What I'm hoping for is that she adds more women to her faction. That would be great because I don't want Camille versus Mercedes right now. Too fast. I like that she's kind of like Mercedes' bodyguard and all of that. So I hope they keep that going. I am very, very, very excited for Chris Statlander Mercedes, though. That's going to be a really great match. As I said, Chris doesn't really have bad matches. And Mercedes is a terrific wrestler, so I think they're going to gel super well together. And I imagine that match will take place at Full Gear. So, yeah, I think it's been apparent that that's what they've been kind of leading to. They wanted it to be Mercedes Statlander, and I like that she had to go through Camille first. It made sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, fantastic match. I for what it was, it got everything across, and I'm so excited for Mercedes versus Chris Statlander. No, and Stat's one of those people where I feel like she really could be the one to beat Mercedes. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah. If not at Full Gear this time, I mean, sometime down the road, I could definitely see that happening. So, I like this as a way of showing the ruthlessness of Mercedes as well. Backstage, we see Jack Perry looking for the Bucks and Alex Marvez trying to get an interview with the Bucks. And Jack Perry says, hey, it's not a good time right now. Leave him alone, and it's kind of interesting, right? Like, not a good time. And then Daniel Garcia interrupts and pins Jack up against the wall. And he's like, like what? You guys couldn't come out and be a part of this? Like what the fuck? Basically calling him a coward. And Jack Jack looks like kind of like he's getting bitched out a little bit, right? Like Garcia's like got him pinned up to the wall, manning up on him. And then Jack gives him that shitty smile, that little smirk that he does. And he says, they used to clap for me too. And Garcia goes, man, get out of my face. Like get out of Garcia's the one in his face, right? Like whatever he said, it got to Garcia. Yeah. And Garcia kind of brushes him off, and Perry, looks like not dominant at all. He looks like a shitty heel, but he's got that smirk on his face, and then he knocks and opens the door. And this was very interesting, Joshi. The Bucks are in there, sweaty, right? Because they've wrestled. And Brandon Cutler's like, I'm trying to shred these papers. This shredder's taking forever. It jams so easily. What's the deal? And the Bucks look at Harry, and Okada's sitting on a chair in the back, and they say, hey, we need to talk. Get in here. And they close the door. What are they shredding, Joshi G?
Either documentation that proves they are the ones that created this heel version of BCC, or there's still the possibility that they're working with Shane McMahon. Those are the only two things that come to mind. I can't think of another reason why they would be shredding documents.
Yeah, no, I mean, it certainly sheds some more light. And then it sheds even more light when you see the cameras shortly thereafter catching up to the Bucks leaving. Alex Marvez is chasing the Bucks and goes, you guys are leaving right now. And Christopher Daniels appears out of nowhere and says, you can't leave right now. We need you guys. Christopher Daniels, who only came into power by trying to balance out the power the Bucks had. But Christopher Daniels says, we need you guys. You can't leave right now. What are you doing? And the Bucks are like, it's too chaotic here. We got to get out of here. And this is clearly a way to keep
working
Nick
from
Jackson.
home.
Yeah, they're going to work from home. I love that they better show the Bucks on Zoom.
That's what I want. I want to see them working
giving
from home.
directives from Zoom next week. They better do it.
Yes.
And they drive off in their SUV after just ignoring Christopher Daniels. And the Bucks said, we built this place and none of you guys were listening to us. And they drive off. Daniels is like, damn it. And then you hear fucking stupid ass, pathetic Brandon Cutler. Hey, Bucks, you forgot your shoes. Don't leave me. And then who should show up behind Brandon Cutler?
Dum, dum, dum. BCC.
Pac walks around the corner just looking like fucking scary. Pac does not have to even dress up to be terrifying, okay?
No, he's
walking Halloween. Like, he just is. Like, Pac just normally, like, is scary. And they pin Brandon Cutler down. They put Christopher Daniels, kind of incapacitated him with a headlock. Moxley has... And they put Cutler's hand on a tractor trailer and... or on a forklift, and Claudio hits it with a hammer. And Cutler's screaming. Daniels actually comes to his defense. It's like, leave him alone. We need a doctor. There is something going on with the Elite and the BCC.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's very clear. I saw some other interesting theories. Somebody said, well, maybe like the pearls that Matt's been wearing is like evidence of like his like the Bucks have been committing financial crimes. And the BCC is going to expose that.
You never know.
And so that's why they're running away from them. But from the beginning, there's been something up because the Bucks are always like, it's none of our business. It's, it has nothing to do with us. Right. So they are scared. And somebody, it was Bleary Line 7 brought up a great possibility, which is the Bucks, after being vanquished at Blood and Guts, are the ones who hired the BCC, and now the BCC is completely out of control, and the Bucks are now terrified and running to avoid it. I think it could be so many different things. Joshi?
I think that's a very strong possibility. And one thing I want to mention real quick is that I found it hilarious that before Claudio destroyed Cutler's hand, Marina put her sunglasses on. She's just been so great in this faction and in this role. I'm loving everything that she's doing. Yeah.
This is the moment that she was built for, and she is crushing it every step of the way. It's been so good. So, after that, it's a main event. Not the match we thought was the main event, but the main event. And you see why at the end. Shelton Benjamin with MVP versus Swerve Strickland in his first match in 6 weeks with Prince Nana. They had a great match. Shelton
So
pretty
good.
much dominated the match. I mean, Swerve was fighting from underneath the whole time. The crowd was super stoked to have Swerve back. Great match. Swerve finally starts to get some advantage on Shelton. And after a long period of struggle, Swerve becomes the first man to defeat Shelton Benjamin, pins him. What did you think of the match itself?
I really liked it. I think Swerve is one of the best, period. And as for Shelton Benjamin, ever since he's been in AEW, he's been wrestling at the highest level, which is amazing to see because I've always liked the way Shelton wrestles ever since he was with Team Angle. I said, yeah, this guy wrestles a lot like Kurt. He has a very promising future. Not too sure what happened in WWE. I know that he's not the best on the mic, but that's not really a problem as long as you have a mouthpiece. And of course, MVP is such a great talker, so it's a given that when a wrestler doesn't really know how to cut promos, you put him with someone. In WWE, they've done that with Brock Lesnar, right? With Paul Heyman and whatnot. It's logical. For some reason, that's not always done. But yeah, I've just been enjoying Shelton a lot. And yeah, he dominated most of the match, but Swerve looked really good as well. And considering that he's been away for 6 weeks, he hasn't missed a step. This is Swerve, though. He's a very special talent. So yeah, I really liked it.
After the match, MVP looks a little frustrated, maybe, or just, but he kind of keeps his composure. And they very clearly show him reaching for a phone. He pulls out his phone. He makes a call. They cut back to, Nana and Swerve in the ring, blah, blah, blah. And then it cuts back to MVP and he's talking to somebody. And he hangs up the phone. And everybody's thinking the same thing. He called Bobby Lashley, right? And,
Right.
But you're thinking, like, is Lashley going to come back next week? Is Lashley coming back tonight? And I was fine with it going either way, to be honest. Like, if he came back next week, I would have been fine with that. Because it had been, up to this point, a fantastic show. But something about it being at the very end of the show made me think this does feel like the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't apparent that Bobby Lashley was showing up. It made sense, but it was the phone call that made you think, maybe it's not happening tonight.
Right.
Maybe they're teasing it for next week or something like that. It was really when the lights went off that you knew, okay, Bobby Lashley's coming out.
So for a minute, the lights flickered, and everybody's like, oh, because they flickered earlier with Malachi, right? So you're like, ooh, what's happening here?
Right.
And then the lights completely shut off. And this new music starts. And you realize what's happening. And just what I loved was that there was this spotlight being projected onto the walking out area. They didn't have a ramp this week, so it was just kind of a walking out area. They have this blue light projected onto the floor, and Lashley steps out of the darkness. And you just see him in silhouette, and you're like, holy shit. That is Bobby Lashley. They made this feel so massive. Lashley comes out looking fucking dapper as shit with the most intense combination of maroon and purple that I have ever seen. He's in a maroon coat, maroon pants with a purple shirt and a maroon tie. I've never seen this color combination in my life. It totally works. Okay. He gets in the ring. Shelton's nowhere to be seen. Him and Swerve come face to face. Iconic. Just looks amazing. And then Shelton jumps up on the ring, and for just a second, you think, wow, what's going to happen here? Swerve turns, and Lashley nails him. They beat the shit out of Nana and Swerve. The show goes off the air with Lashley standing over Swerve. and the Hurt Syndicate is complete. What a fucking ending to this show. Joshi.
It was epic. I'm going to be completely honest with you. When I started reading reports that Tony Khan was most likely going to sign Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin, I had mixed thoughts. I like all these guys. I truly do. It's just that they're older now. You know, they're closer to 50. Okay? So I was just thinking, oh, I don't know how I feel about this. They're older. If they were younger, sure, and also, I don't know. I just felt like, okay, AEW has a huge roster. Is it really necessary to add these three guys? But I feel once MVP showed up and then Shelton, I felt a lot better about it. And then I got really excited about Bobby showing up. And I'm really glad that they signed these guys. Bobby Lashley looked incredible. I don't understand how he wasn't booked like Brock Lesnar in WWE. All he was missing was a mouthpiece, really. I mean, the guy is just as big, just as jacked, just as tough as Brock. He's not the best on the mic. Neither is Brock Lesnar. All Brock Lesnar says is, I'm going to break your legs. Okay? You know what I mean? So I thought the way he came out, like you said, he comes out from the darkness. He's dressed in purple and maroon, pulls it off. It really felt like, you know when you're playing those Batman video games? Like Batman Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham City, and you have the final boss. You have to go through all of these villains, and then you have the final boss at the very end. Bobby Lashley is the final boss.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this, and one thing that stood out to me a lot was that the black representation during the match and the aftermath was amazing. I absolutely love that. I think it's great. I know that the fans liked Hurt Business in WWE, but sadly it was dropped very suddenly. And I read that Bobby Lashley said that being in Hurt Business was the most fun he's had in his wrestling career. So to be able to come to AEW and revive that is just so fulfilling for them and for us, the fans, because we want to see that. And of course, you know, you put anybody with Swerve now, it's going to be a great story. Swerve has just been in the best stories. He's reliable. He's great at everything he does. Swerve was the right person to start to essentially be their first rival.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, the representation would have been there whether these guys fought or not, right? Because, like, the Hurt Business, the implication of the Hurt Business is that it's a black group, right? And, they don't do, like, the Nation of Domination where it's, like, militant black, blah. These are just businessmen who are all black, right? And they work together. And MVP is so good on the mic. He understands exactly what to do. Think about this. This is the best introduction of a group or characters, I think, ever in AEW history. Because when you really look at it, MVP showed up on Grand Slam. That was the first night. That was 6 weeks ago. And they just introduced Bobby Lashley this last Wednesday. And it's all made sense. It's all been perfectly orchestrated for that moment with Bobby Lashley standing over Swerve. Just fucking great. I had heard a lot about the Hurt Business while it was going on. I wasn't watching WWE. And yeah, I thought all the same things you did. These guys are closer to 50. Shelton's 49. Bobby's 48. MVP is 50. He's like 51. What could they really do in AEW? Boy, was I wrong, man. Like they have done incredible work with this. I'm so excited to see where this goes.
The last thing I'll say is that Hurt Syndicate is actually my favorite thing going in AEW right now. I do think that AEW needed something fresh and new that really stood out. And I've actually seen fans online say they want to watch AEW because of these
100%.
guys. And yeah, and there's good reason for that, right? So it's a very exciting time, yeah.
And so what we're going to do is the bonus audio this week is going to be us answering your questions because we've got this incredible episode of Dynamite that we had to give its just due. But this episode is already getting long in the tooth, baby. So your bonus audio will be us answering your questions. There's plenty of those. So tune in. It will be in your feed on Monday or Tuesday. Us answering your questions. But what an episode of Dynamite. What an incredible... I mean, this was like maybe my favorite episode this year. I know there's recency bias to consider, but man, they hit every mark. What a fantastic Halloween edition of Dynamite. Fright Night Dynamite. And good fucking God. So anyway, Joshi, you have any final thoughts you want to share with anybody?
All I want to say is Fright Night Dynamite for life. That was awesome. I want to see more of that.
It ruled. Make sure you guys review us in the iTunes store or on YouTube. Make sure you like this video. Leave a comment. Tell your friends about what we're doing here at Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out. Also, Spotify, you can rate us over there. Rate us wherever you can and give us 5 stars. It will boost us in the algorithm. We're not doing this for the money, folks. We are doing this for the love of the game. And the most important thing is we just want to grow this community, get more people involved. The more people we've brought in, honestly, the more fun we've had. It has only continued to get better. And we are committed to making this the very best it can be. The more, the merrier. I'm Blade Daly.
I'm Joshi G.
And until we get to the bonus audio on Monday or Tuesday, this has been Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out. Pro Wrestling Forever.